The impact of the Russo-Ukrainian war is evident, with the overall automobile market in Russia experiencing a drastic decline in sales. Chinese car brands have seen a significant increase in their market share in Russia, reaching 39.7%. Last year, as European and American car companies withdrew from Russia one after another, Chinese car brands seized the opportunity to quickly fill the gap. Meanwhile, the Russian government started to vigorously develop the new energy vehicle industry, implementing a one-sided strategy favorable to Chinese car companies. As a result, the Russian new energy vehicle market is seen as a broader and more promising blue ocean. In reality, the electric vehicle market in Russia has a low historical inventory, with uneven registration of electric cars in different regions and significant obstacles to industry development, which paints a less optimistic picture. Russia has traditionally been an important export market for Chinese automobiles and is the country with the best automotive industry foundation and the largest market in the Eurasian region. However, a significant turning point occurred in 2022 when foreign car companies suspended production or withdrew their investments in Russia. Local manufacturers were unable to keep up with the demand, and factors such as decreased purchasing power of buyers dealt a major blow to the development of the Russian automobile industry. In terms of production, Russia's automobile output in 2022 decreased by 61.2% to 608,500 units compared to the previous year. From 1997 to 2022, the average annual automobile production in Russia was 1.39 for 7 million units. In 2012, it reached a historical high of 2.2331 million units, but in 2022, it hit a record low of 608,500 units. This is mainly due to the outbreak of the Russo-Ukrainian conflict, leading many automakers including Mercedes-Benz, Toyota, and Renault to cease operations in the Russian market. For instance, Renault's factory in Moscow has been transferred to the government for the production of Moscow-made vehicles. In terms of sales, Russia's total vehicle sales in 2022 decreased by 58.8% to 687,400 units compared to the previous year. Among different vehicle types, passenger car sales declined by 64.2% to 264,400 units, SUV sales declined by 57.5% to 334,900 units, light commercial vehicle sales declined by 38% to 81,100 units, and heavy commercial vehicle sales declined by 30.5% to 7,000 units. Prior to the Russo-Ukrainian conflict, Renault, including Lada, controlled by Renault, had the highest market share in Russia, reaching nearly 30%. Followed by Korean brands Kia and Hyundai, which consistently occupied the second and third positions in Russia's car sales rankings. Since the Russo-Ukrainian conflict, many Western car manufacturers have withdrawn, and Chinese and domestically produced Russian cars have quickly filled the gap. Sales of Russian brands decreased by 39.7% to 265,127 units. But their market share increased to 38.6% from 26.4% in 2021. Chinese brands, on the other hand, saw a year-on-year growth of 6.8% to 123,572 units, with a market share of 18%, compared to 6.9% in 2021. In terms of brands, Lada saw a year-on-year decrease of 46.2% to reach 188,600 units, with a market share of 27.4%, ranking first. Kia followed with a decline of 67.9% to 66,100 units, while Hyundai dropped 67.2% to 54,800 units. Chinese brand Chery experienced a growth of 7.8% to 40,000 units, while Haval decreased by 14% to 33,600 units, and Geely dropped by 0.7% to 24,400 units. The development of electric vehicles in Russia is still in its early stage. As of the end of 2022, the total number of registered electric vehicles in Russia was approximately 20,000. Although sales are growing rapidly, the overall scale is still very low. Factors such as the withdrawal of Western foreign investment and chip shortages have posed significant obstacles to the development of the fledgling Russian electric vehicle industry. Currently, Russia relies mainly on imports from China and local assembly for electric vehicles. As of July 1, 2022, a total of 18,700 electric vehicles were registered in Russia, accounting for only 0.04% of the country's total passenger car population. In terms of brands, Nissan leads the electric vehicle sales in Russia with a historical inventory of 12,300 vehicles and a market share of 65.8%. Tesla follows with 2,400 vehicles and a market share of 13%, while Porsche has 837 vehicles, accounting for a combined market share of 4.5%. Audi, 718 vehicles, and Mitsubishi, 497 vehicles, also contribute. These top 5 brands collectively hold 90% of the total electric vehicle inventory in Russia. In terms of regional distribution, over half of the electric vehicles are registered in the European region of Russia, while 8% are registered in the Far Eastern region. The top 5 regions with the highest electric vehicle ownership are Moscow City, Primorski Krai, Irkutsk Oblast, Krasnodar Krai, and Moscow Oblast. Among them, the adoption rate is highest in the capital city of Moscow, with approximately 1 out of every 7 vehicles being electric. In 2022, domestic car manufacturers in Russia began the production of electric passenger vehicles. In September, a new electric vehicle brand, Evolut, was established, and in October, the historic brand Moskvich was revived for electric vehicle production. Evolut primarily assembles electric vehicle models from Chinese automaker Dongfeng, while Moskvich assembles models from Chinese automaker JAC. Electric vehicle brands currently supplied to the Russian market include Lanting, JAC, Geely, Great Wall Motors, Chery, Hongqi, BAIC, Carway, Volkswagen, BMW, and others. Active brands in 2023 include Tesla, Nissan, Porsche, Audi, and more. According to statistics from 2chargers.net, the current number of charging stations nationwide in Russia is approximately 4,367, including 3,679 slow charging stations and 688 fast charging stations. The priority development areas for the construction of charging infrastructure in Russia include Moscow, St. Petersburg, Kaliningrad, Sochi, Kazan, and Crimea. The specific plan includes the construction of 9,000 charging stations, including 2,900 fast charging stations, from 2021 to 2024. From 2025 to 2030, the plan is to build at least 72,000 charging stations, including 28,000 fast charging stations. Due to factors such as cold climate, Russia has not been proactive enough in promoting the widespread adoption of electric vehicles. However, since 2021, the Russian government has begun to establish a domestic electric vehicle production system and promote the adoption of electric vehicles. In August 2021, the government released a policy for the widespread adoption of electric vehicles, with a total investment of 511 billion rubles, approximately $8 billion, by 2030. The goal is to achieve a 10% share of electric vehicles in the country's total vehicle production by 2030, with a cumulative production of 730,000 electric vehicles. The government also provides subsidies and incentives for electric vehicle purchases and promotes the development of related infrastructure. The main countries for car imports to Russia are South Korea, $1.05 billion, Japan, $1.04 billion, and China, $984 million. The main destinations for car exports from Russia are Kazakhstan, $201 million, Belarus, $67 million, and Azerbaijan, $31 million. In 2022, due to the current situation, there has been a significant decrease in car imports from the European Union to Russia, with a year-on-year decline of 61.6% in November 2022. On the other hand, car imports from China have increased. In the second quarter of 2022, approximately 81% of the new passenger cars imported into Russia came from China, while imports from South Korea and Japan accounted for nearly 10% combined. Anyhow, in recent years, electric vehicles have experienced rapid growth globally, but the Russian electric vehicle market is hindered by significant obstacles. One of the main challenges is the harsh climate. Covering vast territories, Russia experiences extremely cold weather conditions that pose serious demands on battery performance and range. In sub-zero temperatures, batteries often suffer from reduced energy density and slower charging speeds, limiting the usability of electric vehicles in cold regions. Therefore, the Russian government needs to take measures to address this challenge, such as improving charging infrastructure and establishing battery technology research centers to enhance electric vehicle performance in cold regions. Additionally, the lack of charging infrastructure remains a bottleneck for the development of the Russian electric vehicle market. While Russia has increased efforts to develop charging infrastructure in recent years, there is still a significant gap compared to other countries. Insufficient and unevenly distributed charging stations restrict consumer enthusiasm for purchasing electric vehicles. The Russian government should increase investment in charging infrastructure, expand the number of charging stations, and strengthen collaborations with charging operators and automotive manufacturers to further promote electric vehicle adoption in Russia. Apart from infrastructure issues, the Russian electric vehicle market also faces challenges in terms of consumer awareness and acceptance. Electric vehicles are still relatively expensive compared to traditional fuel-powered vehicles in the Russian market, and there is a lack of corresponding subsidy policies. Moreover, limited understanding and acceptance of electric vehicles among consumers raise doubts about their performance, charging convenience, and range. Therefore, the Russian government needs to enhance public awareness through education and introduce incentives to improve consumer awareness and purchase willingness towards electric vehicles. Despite the significant obstacles facing the Russian electric vehicle market, the government has started recognizing the importance of electric vehicle development and has implemented relevant policies and plans. By intensifying infrastructure development, improving battery technology, and promoting consumer education, it is believed that the Russian electric vehicle market has the potential to undergo positive changes. However, achieving this requires joint efforts from the government, businesses, and consumers to overcome challenges and usher in a new era of electric vehicles in Russia.